What does it mean to max fund an IUL, and why would somebody even want to max fund an IUL in the first place? That is the topic of today's video. My name is Tiessen. I'm the founder of Redtail Financial. I'm actually going to bring you over to my computer screen so I could do a little whiteboard style drawing to make this stick a little bit easier. We're going to be using an analogy so that it makes sense to more people. We'll use a real estate analogy, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring you over to my screen. We'll get this started right now. All right, so let's talk about max funding an IUL with a real estate analogy. You know, most people understand real estate analogies, and in this analogy, we are going to use an apartment building that is 5 stories tall. Why are we using a 5-story building? Well, just like any other financial vehicle that has advantages in the tax code, there's going to be rules that come along with those advantages, right? And one of the rules with the IUL is that you cannot just dump all of the money in one shot. If we did do that, it would be considered an investment under the IRS tax codes, and we do not want it to be an investment. See, an IUL, this is very important to understand, an IUL is categorized as a life insurance policy. It is a life insurance policy, and that is a good thing. It's not an investment because investments get taxed. IULs and life insurance policies do not get taxed, so we actually do not even want them to be considered an investment. This is something that you need to understand when you're talking to advisors. If they pitch it as an investment, they're not even supposed to legally, but an investment is not what we want. We want a life insurance policy because we want those tax benefits. So going over to the screen, let's talk about a 5-story apartment building. Now, if we had this building and we were a landlord, we wanted to get max efficiency for the building, max profit out of the building, we would want full occupancy, right? We want every floor completely filled up by tenants to pay us the most rent that we can get from the building. Now, when we build an IUL, what we have to do is design the building. I'm going to call it a building here for this example. We're going to design the building to accommodate however many tenants we have. Now, in this case, we're going to call it $500,000. We'll talk about 2 different situations because it's very important to understand the difference between these two. But let's consider a 50-year-old that has $500,000 to put into an IUL. That might be, I don't know, maybe they sold a property, maybe they got an inheritance, whatever it is, they have $500,000 lump sum to put into this IUL. Now again, in an investment, you could dump all that money in, the whole $500,000 is working for you day one. But with an IUL, we have to put it in over the course of time. Now, how much time depends on your age. A general rule of thumb is basically 1 year for every decade you're alive. It's not exact, but it's pretty close, right? So for a 50-year-old, it takes about 5 years. It's actually 4 years and 1 day to put all of the money into the policy. Now, what happens in year 1? Well, let's back up. What happens before? If we just had this building empty, there was no tenants renting it, right? We still have expenses for the building. We have upkeep, we have maintenance, we've got, you see the beautiful shrubbery in this drawing, right? Excuse my drawing skills, but we have maintenance on the building, and that is like the policy costs on an insurance policy, right? It's the upkeep to keep this building up and running. But after the first year, I'm gonna do a yellow here to draw in, this is light in the windows to represent that the first year we dump in that $100,000. Now what has happened here? We filled up that first floor, right? But we still have 4 floors of vacancy, so the policy is not very efficient, right? And this is one of the knocks on IULs. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You know, this is the big downside to IULs, is that you cannot max fund them right away. And the reason this is a downside is because we still have this entire building to pay for, right? We still have the expenses of the entire building, but we only get to put 1 floor worth of tenants into this building to offset those policy costs, right? So in that first year, we only have like 20% efficiency in the policy. But what happens in year 2? In year 2, we can dump in another $100,000, right? And so we start getting more and more efficient, right? And the way to think about this, I wrote up top here, a 50-year-old has to have, with $500,000, has to have about $1.25 million in death benefit. And see, what we do with an IUL is we're actually flipping the idea of insurance on its head. If your entire reason for wanting IUL is you want a great big death benefit, you could buy way more death benefit with $500,000. But that is not the purpose for most people for an IUL. The death benefit is a benefit, but most people are looking at them for a cash accumulation product, right? So Why is it more expensive up front in that first year? We talked about the expenses of a building, but let's talk specifically insurance. Well, in that first year, the insurance company has $1.25 million worth of risk. You've put in $100,000, so they've got $925,000 of risk to the insurance company, risk to the insurance co, right? But in year two, we dump in another $100,000, and now the insurance company only has, let's erase this, right? The death benefit's still 1.25, but you have 200,000 of that death benefit funded. Now they only have 825K net risk. So you see, as we dump in more and more money, the net risk to the insurance company goes down, which is why these policies actually get cheaper over time and they become more efficient over time. Let's continue with this example. So in year three, I'm just gonna erase that real quick. In year three, we do another 100K. We fill up this, right? Now we're at 60% efficiency in this building. Year four, we're gonna fill up another floor, right? 100K. And year five, we're gonna finally fill up the last floor of this policy. Now, this is a max funded policy. See, we built the building to accommodate $500,000 worth of tenants, right? If we're using the real estate analogy here. We built this building to accommodate that much. Now we have a max funded, most efficient policy possible. Now the cost of insurance, the cost of the building is negligible compared to the amount of rents we're bringing in on this building. So that is why we want to max fund this policy. Now let me show you a really cool thing about these IULs, another big benefit that often gets overlooked. See, people talk about 401ks, they talk about Roth IRAs, but those have contribution limits, right? And not even to mention, if you have a Roth or you want a Roth, you cannot even use a Roth if you make over a certain amount of income. So IULs have actually been called the rich man's Roth, but you don't have to be rich to use them, right? So let me show you one of the big benefits to these IULs. Let's say someone is, they're expecting to have 500K over the next 5 years. Maybe they can't do that right now. Maybe for the first couple years, they can only put in 1/3, 2/3 of 100K would be 66,000 in year one, right? But maybe they have a real estate property they're planning to sell in 4 years down the road. So when we design this building, we want to design it to accommodate that real estate sale that they're planning on putting into the IUL. So this is what's cool. In a Roth and a 401k, in a 401k, you're allowed to put $23,000 in a year, this year in 2024. In a Roth, only $7,000. But what happens in a 401k if we only put $10,000, right? Or we only put $15,000? Well, when year two starts, we lose all that extra room. See, we only put in half of what we could in the 401k, but then next year we lose that room. We can't go back and kind of backfill the contributions, but with an IUL we can. So this is a really cool thing. So let's say in year two, we do another 66K, right? We only put in 2/3, and you could do any number here, right? We're using round math. Year three, 66K again, right? But then in year four, we go ahead and we sell that building. And let's say with that building, we sell it for $300,000, right? We sell the property for 300K, and now we have that extra money we can dump in. So we dump in the 100K here at year four, that 100K, we fill up that floor, that year's allotment, but then we can go back and we can backfill plus 33, 33, plus 33. We're rounding down a little bit, but we can backfill that money that we didn't do the previous year. And then again in year five, we're gonna dump that 100K and max fund this policy. So this is what it means to max fund an IUL. This is very important to understand. This is how they work at maximum efficiency. Now, if you have an agent that is more looking out for themselves, they might set up a policy with way too much death benefit. And when you have excess death benefit, you're paying excess costs because you are paying, in any insurance company, you are paying for the net risk to the insurer. But with IULs, when we are looking for a cash accumulation, when we are specifically looking to grow these accounts and have them act like investments, not be investments, act like investments, The trick is that we want to have the least amount of net risk possible to the insurance company. And we have a rule set in place by the IRS that determines that amount of net risk to the insurance company based on the amount of premiums paid, your age, your gender, and your health status, right? So that was a lot that we covered in this video. I hope that made sense. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to talk to you more about this. My name is Christian Tiessen. I'm the founder of Redtail Financial, and I will see you guys on the next video.